Anyway.
Okay, whenever you all are ready.
Okay. Well, I want to sit straight. I look at myself in pictures. I'm usually like this, and it's horrible.
How about if I put a pillow behind you?
No, I'm fine.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know what we're supposed to do. What are
Well,
we supposed to do?
just tell me about the beginnings of New City. I guess let's start at the very beginning.
Okay. That class we...
I was told that you all were around then.
Well, we're going to talk about the beginning of the new city, and Arlene and I were there, so at least we think we know what was going on, and it started. A lady here on the mountain, Colette Grady Minat, her name was, went to our business manager at the college and said, "Would anybody, do you know of anybody who would like to start a Sunday school downtown?" She owned apartments down on 3rd Street, where all the Udom parking lot is now. Mm-hmm. It was on 3rd Street. That's where we started, and that's where we still are. A little different situation. And she called, and so Mr. Shoup, his name was, called Rudy in, and Rudy said yes, he would love to do something like that. Then he called me in separately, and I said yes. It was really interesting that we Iowans who knew very little about the South and certainly about the inner city, and so we both said we'd like to do it. And then we started a Sunday school class that we didn't have the RP church, Grace Church, didn't have a church, so we met at the college in those early days. And we started the Sunday school class and invited people to come, and we're trying to think of some of the people who were there. We know Phil Cox and Nick Barker.
Boy, I don't remember the people we were trying to think of, Dana, but I can't remember.
But anyway,
I
I suppose there were 10 or 15 people.
Yeah, was Judith Sanderson there?
She might have been.
She was involved at some point early on.
But anyway, so what we did, you tell us what we did in that Sunday school class, Arlene.
The part that I remember, and I don't remember everything for sure, Mr. Schmidt had us listen to some tapes by Tom Skinner, who was a black evangelist, and it was significant that he was a black evangelist because he was helping black people and white people know how to minister, relate to each other. Anyway, but he was quite well known, and he was also a friend of Randy's, but Randy was not involved at this point. Randy wasn't even at Covenant at that point. Was Joan in that class?
Not in there, not right at the beginning.
Okay,
she kind of joined us a few months later, I think.
Yeah, or she did go around on that original canvassing that we did, I think. But I think as far as being in the Sunday school and so forth, wasn't until later. But we listened to a tape by Tom Skinner, and then we also read and discussed his book, Black and Free, if I'm remembering correctly. And we did that for a couple of months, maybe, or, several months.
Yeah, till spring. Yeah. And then, in the spring, we made some flyers, and on a Saturday, we went downtown and went through that whole neighborhood and distributed.
And we were all white, too.
I think so.
Until Joan got involved.
Yeah. And we went from door to door and just invited people to come to the Sunday school. And that first Sunday, there were 17 little kids there, little black kids.
Do you remember the first little girl that came up the steps?
Peaches?
Yeah, her name was Peaches.
Yeah.
It's not the Peaches that's at our church now, but little girl came up all by herself. No family, no.
And we were all just thrilled. And I don't think we've missed a Sunday since then, being any of us that have gone. So I think that's one of the secrets of, or if it's secret, one of the guiding principles if you're going to start a new city, an inner city work. Be consistent.
Yeah, we
think that
could have gotten snowed out several times.
Yeah.
we went through all kinds of things weather-wise.
Yeah. This is something I can give you to read. You might want to incorporate it or even start with it. I don't know. It's something that Rudy wrote. But one of the, at the closing, he wrote, "It is a wonderful, exhilarating experience for us all, and one that we believe pleases the Lord. First Thessalonians 2:8, we were willing to have imparted to you not the gospel of God only, but also our own souls." And I do think that group of people really invested.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't just kind of, we'll be there on Sunday, but we'll. Anyway, so that was how we started. And then we started having regular Sunday school classes. And or Sunday school downtown.
We really didn't know what we were doing.
No.
But the kids accepted us as we were, bumbling and everything. And that's how we kind of we grew, because it was, I've got a cousin that lives at some other place in the city, and can somebody get them and bring them over here? And then we had this elaborate network of cars pretty early on, I think, didn't we?
We did. One of the things we did consistently too was go pick up the kids. We went to the homes. And one of the things Aunt Randy from the beginning taught me anyway, I think, don't just sit out in front and beep your horn, but go to the door and invite them. And if they can't come then, say, well, I'll be back next Sunday. And then you go back again, and you don't give up. You don't just, and I think that was very important that he taught us that.
Yeah, consistency was an important thing, steadiness, so that we could be counted on. I remember in the beginning, Mr. Schmidt very carefully wrote out these flip charts with the songs on them, and then he'd stand up there and hold the flip charts, and we sang a cappella until you start playing this miniature organ or this portable organ. And then we had music to go with it. And then there's a story connected to that.
That story has become famous. I love to repeat it, but I was actually.
I love to hear it.
I was there playing. Sunday school had started, and in came James Ward. This was in the fall of '60.
I think he was a freshman, I think.
Yeah. And
that sounds right.
Yeah, and Randy came over and leaned over and said, "James Ward is here. Do you mind if he plays?" So right in the middle of church, I got dismissed from the, and I've never been back.
To the piano.
One time, they needed, since we've been at Westminster, they needed somebody to play middle C on the piano, so I went up and popped it. But anyways, but I think he was just think of getting Jim Ward to be your replacement. It was wonderful. And he's been so loyal.
Yes, he's
so unusual.
Except for a hiatus in the 70s sometime.
Yeah.
He's been there.
That's right. He left us for a little while.
Yeah, but he's been there almost the whole time.
And he brings the kids along in music. That's what I love. Anyway, so.
A lot of our songs have been written by him. Randy came after we'd been there for...
I think he came the fall of '69.
That could be. And Will Barker had been preaching for a little while. He's a college professor. And then he started turning it over to Randy. Randy was a sophomore at Covenant at the time, I think. And I remember the first sermon that Randy preached was on David and Goliath. And I went away from that thinking, that's not all in the Bible. And I went...
I've done that for years. I'll think, this can't be in the Bible. And Randy
then you go back
and
read it, and it's there.
It's just amazing. And well, anyway, we've been thankful for Randy. Still are. And we're thankful for Kevin, too. So.
And then Randy and Joan got married and partway through all of this and lived right there underneath the apartment. No, next door.
And Randy and Joan could tell stories about that.
Yeah. They were right in the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see, what else did we do?
Some of us ladies decided we would have little afternoon teas, and we'd invite women from the neighborhood. And it was such a new experience for them. But you know, all those clumsy starts that we made, the Lord, I think he really honored them. It's amazing. The apartment was small, and we met in every nick and cranny of it.
It was tiny. Randy had a teenage Sunday school class out on the balcony. It was a teeny tiny balcony. Of course, that was only a fair weather thing. He couldn't do it when it was raining and so forth. And then you had a class in the kitchen with these two ladies, Lisa Gaines' mom and Marie Jennings.
Yeah.
And it was a teeny tiny kitchen. And then I had my class back in the hallway at one point, and well, it was in a bedroom, but then we kept growing, so we needed more space. So then I was in the hallway for a while. And then we had that bathtub room, and there was a toilet room and a bathtub room. I don't know why these apartments were built that way, but they were. And the girls sat around the ridge of the bathtub, and I mean, it is all sort of absurd, but...
And probably a church planter would say, this isn't the way you started church. I don't think any of us...
We didn't think
We
of
never thought we
ourselves
were
as-
going to be a big church sometime. I think we thought we were just going to have
Well,
a
always have a
testimony
Sunday school.
downtown. And we wanted a reformed testimony. That was important because we wanted really, I think that our steady Bible teaching has really been, that's been a wonderful thing. I've had people in my Sunday school class say that until we came into her life, especially Johnny Ward told me this, she said she'd gone to church all her life and hadn't really learned anything about the Bible. And I'm sure that's not true in every black church, but it's true in a lot of black and white churches. I did the same thing. I didn't know anything about the Bible, though I went to Sunday school when I was little.
One of those early Sunday school kids was Edward Clark, who is still a very faithful member at New City. He was gone for a time, but is back and has been back for quite a while, quite a long time.
We've been enjoying that lately, seeing people that were in our Sunday school. Now they're grown and many have wandered off, but they're coming back, and that's exciting every time we see somebody there.
Yeah.
And they'll say, "Hi, Mrs. Schmidt," downtown someplace. And I guess I just have always been old to them, so that's really true. That's what we did. Then we did a lot with recreation too. We had picnics, and sometimes they'd come up to our house. Or we would go to parks and
Yeah. Oh, we'd go to out to the Chickamauga Dam and have picnics out there, and I can't swim, and so I was always counting, make sure everybody was there. I came back with a headache all the time because I was a nervous wreck for fear we'd lose somebody. Or we took them on a hike once. We did all kinds of things, and
so that was an important part of all that we did, was pursue and make friends. I'm a great one on. There's nothing like making friends if you're going to start an inner city church. And there weren't just shallow friendships that we. It was important to us not just to appear on Sunday and then come back to wherever we were going to go back to, but to be involved in lives. And a lot of that, I don't know how we came to that kind of understanding, but And we've been we made a lot of goofs too. There's no question about that. But
people were very forgiving toward us, though.
And having Joan and Randy and Jim Ward come in those days where they just, Randy just took over, as you can well imagine. But he was so, and taught us such fundamentally right things.
I think Oliver was there in those early days, too.
Yeah, he was.
And there were several from the Newark church that Randy and Joan and Oliver were in who came and were part of us, and they were a definite contribution to what was going on, because they knew more what they were doing than we did.
Yeah, they were good. And so those were kind of the very early days. And another thing we did is have big Easter services. That was huge.
We continued that for many years, too.
Every year. We'd have outside services. And they were effective.
Jim had a band group, I forget the name. Well, Black and Blues was what they were called later, but I think he was calling them Edwin Hawkins Singers, but there were some Edwin Hawkins singers, so they changed it to Black and Blues, and it was a lively music.
But it was really at the college.
Right, but then he would import some of those. Well, and Joan was a singer in that, and there were some others, and he had them on a flatbed truck for one Easter. Remember that Easter in that parking lot? And, it grabbed the attention of the whole neighborhood because we were making so much noise, but it wasn't just noise. It was really beautiful singing, and the kids were all involved, and, it's just, it added a degree of excitement to things, I think.
I think our music has been just a very basic, hugely important. It hasn't just been kind of attached. It's been kind of, as most people that go there know, that I think our services are unified by our music, and I'm sure Greg thinks that.
Yeah, and also Jim wrote a lot of music that fit our church or was for special occasions at our church, and those became some of our favorite songs.
Didn't he write Death is Ended for Mrs. Jennings' funeral?
I think he wrote it actually for his brother's funeral, but then her funeral was close to that.
No, it's gonna be. You better all be there and singing at my funeral. I'll be mad. I have it all written down, just what you're supposed to do. So.
Predetermined.
Yeah, it's fun to watch people flock up there, and people that you're invited. I mean, and so anyway, so that's been a major part of our work.
Another early song that he wrote. It's the first one I remember. We were still at 3rd and Cherry Street in that apartment, and he said he'd written a song called Holy Spirit.
Oh, yeah.
We used to sing that a lot in the early days.
Yeah.
We haven't sung it in recent years that I recall. But that was the first one I remember that he wrote, specifically with our church in mind. And then there was an Easter song that he wrote. Well, Death is Ended could be an Easter song too, but there was another one, I can't think how it goes, but we used to sing that a lot. Haven't sung it lately, though. There are a lot. He could uncover a whole bunch of things for us to sing, and we could go back and sing all those. There are a lot of them.
Well, then we outgrew the apartment, which was great.
Yeah.
And I can remember
that was in 72.
James Ward and Randy found this YMCA and got permission that we go there. And so we did. And we met in the gym. Well, first
we started in that room right off the street.
Right.
We were there.
And it was cold and dirty, and our kids would be in the room next to us, our nursery, and it was such a mess. We'd go down and clean, but oh dear.
And they would paint wild colors, which I think some of us thought, oh, these colors are awful. But the kids thought they were great. Remember that?
Yeah.
Because it was uncoordinated. They loved all the wild colors that
I don't even
they did
remember
the
that.
painting. Yeah, that I don't know if it was a summer program that was doing that, but that was very popular.
But then we had to move from the,
We moved from there up to the dining room on the second floor.
or before we moved to the gym.
Yeah,
Mm,
we were there when Carl Ellis was
Yeah.
pastoring.
You were in the
and that was
dining
around
room,
80,
yeah.
82. And then we went to the gym for the last little bit.
Yeah, and it was cold, and I can remember the Huffines and the Colliers came there, and I thought, we'll never see those people again. We were freezing. We had to take blankets to church with us.
Yeah, we sat.
And my word, they're still there. And Colliers were over there for a long time, and certainly contributed a lot to the church. But so,
in that gym too, every Sunday morning there had to be a crew that went down and unrolled all these rolls of vinyl on the floor, and then set up chairs so we wouldn't scratch the gym floor. It was a big operation. Remember that? And to get it ready, and then that all had to be taken down again after church. The gym was a high maintenance kind of place to meet. And going back to when we were meeting downstairs, I had another unusual place to have my Sunday school class. Besides, at one point it was in I always ended up in the hallways, but on the side of the swimming pool, and it had water in it. But it was a large pool in this YMCA, but that's where we met, was at the side of the swimming pool. We had chairs there and just sat there by the swimming pool. It didn't seem so strange.
So we stayed there for how many years?
Until 80. We were there from 72 to 85, I believe. Yes. 85, we moved to Chattanooga Christian. Something else about the Y that I was going to mention. We would say we were at the industrial YMCA, but the kids all said we were at they identified that they went to church at the Pink Y, because half of it was pink. The National Guard had started to paint it and never finished it, and I don't know if it was pink and they were painting it white, or it was white and they were painting it pink. But anyway, the kids all said they went to church at the Pink Y. That was kind of, and one time we were sharing chairs with the Muslims who were next door. Remember that?
Yeah, that's right.
They'd get down with their chairs and bring them over, and we used the chairs, or I don't remember exactly how that all worked out, but I remember them and us carrying them back and forth. So that was sort of an interesting thing.
And those were the years that was Carl there. Was that when Randy went to?
Randy left, I think, in 82. Was gone 82 to 84. I don't know. I just know 82 was in there somewhere.
Yeah.
When Randy was gone and Carl was here, and that was amazing. Carl just sort of stepped into being our pastor for 2 years, and then Randy came back and we resumed with Randy as our pastor. I don't think that can happen in many churches.
No.
But it worked for us. And
another person who
Carl's still
contributed
here.
a lot to the church was Chuck Anderson, who was taught the Bible at Covenant, but he would be one of our preachers. And one time, and we would have a common cup for communion, and we stood in a circle, and Chuck said, we'll all hold the elements and all eat together, and here we're all we thought we could hold it in a row. I've always remembered that. And Chuck made it rather impossible for us. Anyway, those were great days. I remember one couple that came, Sharon and
Danny and Sharon.
Yeah,
Adams.
Danny and Sharon, a couple she was from Sand Mountain, and he was black and she was white, and they were it's just amazing, that
Yeah.
whole situation.
They had been chased by the Klan on Sand Mountain. These Klan members had cut Danny's ear
They threw
almost
a brick at him.
off. Yeah, and Danny got out of it because he was a black belt in karate. So they were able to get away. They had their young daughter in the car. And then it ended up 2 different court cases. Several of us went to Birmingham and Gadsden for these trials, because when Danny and Sharon were up on Sand Mountain to go to her family, visit her family, and they had ended up in the yard of the family that they were going to visit, and they sped away, and the Klan members ran in to tell the family what had happened. They weren't aware because of the way the house was focused. And so then it was Sharon's sister, and they knew these men, and these men came in and bragged about what they'd done, and he was also a sheriff's deputy, and so there they were. I mean, they didn't know after they were gone. Then Sharon's sister and brother-in-law knew who these people were, so they were caught. They were, and ended up having to pay money.
Well, I remember the first time they came to our church on Mitchell. They said they drove by and thought, this can't possibly be a church, and we can't possibly go here to church. And then they came back, and they were in the church for a long time. Their kids. I had one thing from the early days that I thought was important. Well, no use going back there right now. It'll come to me. But so then we bought the house next door.
On Mitchell Avenue.
Yeah, on Mitchell Avenue, and it developed it. Well, that's where had our church offices, and we would have prayer meeting there on Wednesday night, and had a lot of things going on there. It was really a big help to us.
We had Sunday evening services at the Y, and one of the things that Randy had us do, we discussed a different social issue. We had a discussion group kind of to help us think in terms of ministry on a broader level, to the neighborhood and so forth, as well as just culturally.
I hear now on things on PBS, for instance, is if we've got to talk about these issues. I think that's one thing Randy's kind of forced in a good way, that we do talk about them. We don't act as if we're all have it down pat, but I think that's been a big help to all of our relationships, I think. So we were at the Christian school then about 4 years.
5 years, I think. We were supposed to be there only 3 years, and we ended up staying 5 years.
And our total church property consisted of about 20 or 30 golden chairs. That's what Randy called them.
Golden chairs.
Yeah, they were painted gold, and we'd have to set them up every Sunday morning. But the Christian school was kind to us. It was good. We had it. Those were good years.
Yeah, all those years we were always setting up chairs from 1970, from 68 until 1990. We always had to set up our meeting area because we were in temporary space.
Yeah, I would like to have some of the early black members talk about what they thought. I can't imagine. I mean, I can't imagine, but it'd be interesting to
hear their take.
Yeah, have their take on all of this. Are you going to do that?
If you can give me some names.
Well, of course, Johnny Ward's gone to be with Jesus, and Mrs. Marie Jennings was the first funeral we had in our church. She was quite young. She had a daughter who later was very active at College Park or whatever that.
The West Side. There's a
West Side. Yeah.
I think there's a building down there named after Miss Jennings' daughter, who was 4 years old when she started coming. Well, Lisa Gaines' aunt was there.
But she
Walter Scott came for a while, but not long enough, I guess. I think he did join the church. Remember him? He lived over on Chamberlain and sold insurance and anyway. But he wasn't there long enough.
If you can find some names, I'll track them down. Well, I'll try to track them down.
I have there's a big book right on the bottom. It's white. It's the one that Pam Williams and Bonnie made for our 25th wedding anniversary, and it's a pretty good resource.
Is it this one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tells a lot. I'll show you.
Would it be easier if it's sitting on
see,
you?
here's a whole from the pastor. I mean, you can. There's a lot in this book. But I have some pictures of some of my.
Doreen has a lot of pictures too
yeah?
from '73 on.
Let's put this up here. I thought I'd find pictures of people that were there in the early. Some of this is personal, so you don't.
You know, as far as non-college adults, that was one of those things we kept yearning for.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know.
It's a lot of stuff.
I mean, we had adults that people that later became adults.
Yeah.
It was really a children's ministry from the.
I mean,
these are letters.
Brian Holland was involved early on.
Yeah, and Pat Ralston, she's Pat Holland, and
she's not African American. Just kidding.
What?
I said she's not African American.
No, she's not.
Now here, our Peace Church establishes city work. See, this is really about us, but it's got a lot about New City in it. So.
You mind if I take a picture of that page?
No, it'd be good. You can sit and now see, and then I mean, it's really quite a remarkable book. Bonnie said, "I'd never do that." So this is.
May have names of folks I can look for.
Yeah, it's a good book. Here's Joan.
Mm-hmm. See, Augustine Hughley would be one of those, and she's gone.
Yeah.
Augustine, I feel.
But I do have I have a video of her singing "For Every Mountain."
Oh wow!
See, all of this is history. I mean,
so
there's been a lot.
Is there a place where this is kept?
My house.
Well,
but you can look at it or even take. See,
here's a picture of Jim. Yeah.
Oh, I wouldn't want to take it. No.
Well, you
or
can
borrow it. I mean, I wouldn't want to do that.
If you want to
either.
come up and spend a day looking at it, it's really.
I may do that also.
It's really worthwhile. See, all of this is.
Wow, look
Randy.
at Carl.
Is that Randy there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Randy and Carl are there or here?
There is what I was looking at.
And Rod Alexander was very important.
Yeah.
He was a student at Covenant, and I get mixed up on the dates, but you can.
He came in '68, I think.
But now you're going to be impressed when you get. I mean, look at the work these women did on this book. See,
Wow.
It keeps going here. A lot of history.
Yes. So they just did this for your 25th anniversary?
For our 25th wedding anniversary, yeah. We've had more notice than we deserve. Arlene needs more notice. See, there's our banner.
Yes.
I think that's it's either Gibbon or Garrett.
Yeah, I don't know which one it is. Oh, yeah, we're at the Christian school.
A lot
there.
of these are personal letters that you certainly don't have to read.
Oh.
Oh, here's the 89 church directory. That's what's interesting. Preaching away there. Now this is what I mean. See, they took all these directories and made these kind of collages.
Wow.
I think it's remarkable.
Look how young Henry Stevens is.
He's young again now. Do we age in heaven? I don't know.
No. This is Richard. Isn't that Richard
Poe.
Poe?
Where's he now? Oh, he died.
No, he comes to our church.
He does?
Yeah, he has little children. I think his wife left him.
I was about to say.
Died?
Young fellow that died. Tell me a little bit more.
Well, he was sick a lot. And
Can you tell me anything else?
No.
But Richard's there quite frequently. You see him going through the door on the far right. We're on the left, and he's on the far right.
I probably talked to him.
Holding on to children.
Yes.
But his wife isn't there anymore. She left him.
Oh.
Yes, I know she didn't want to go to church with him at one point, but he wanted to go to church, and hopefully that wasn't. Well, I don't know.
Betty Keane, she's part of our history.
Yeah.
We would go every Sunday to her. That's another thing we've done through the years is
take church to people.
Yeah. And now, for instance, Rudy for a long time, there were two men on Mitchell Avenue that he went every week during the week after he'd work all day long at tedious work, and then he would go down there and have Bible studies with these two men.
So, Mitchell Avenue, that was just the Bible study, or was it an actual church on Mitchell? Or?
Yes. When did we start actual services? We started them when we were still in the apartment.
I've always felt like it was in January of '90, but I'm not sure. Not '90.
I was about to say no.
January of '69. January of '69. But I think I've heard Randy say it was '70. So I'm not sure whether his memory's better or mine is. You get these little details that don't always line up. What was the question, though?
I was just trying to figure out Mitchell Avenue.
Mitchell Avenue. We had Sunday school there, church services, midweek services. Once we bought that house across the street, and then did I say evening services?
Well, the house, I guess this house was across the street, kind of an alley.
No, it was 16th Street.
Was it really?
Yeah, it was the actual street. Now, it looked more like an alley when you got down to Market Street. There's Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I like that. Oh, that was cute. His name got a lot of usage.
Now, there's a lot in here.
I don't think I ever wrote you one of those letters.
Oh, I never get those done like you're supposed to. I'm terrible. And showers, I always just say, be a cheerful wife. You have a cheerful wife, don't you?
I think so.
Yeah. Here we are, 1995. See, these are well, that was 10 years ago.
No, that was 20 years ago.
They're the Cadwells.
20 years ago.
Yeah, it's amazing how that happens.
Yeah.
Actually,
Oh, those pictures are cool.
I think I have this one. The 95 directory, that is.
Anyway, that's what a lot of this book is New City, which shows us where we spent a lot of time.
Yeah.
And joyful time. I mean, Rudy wrote a thing to the college seniors once that I think is so good. And he gave them 4 things that he thought they should do, and one of them was to have a very high view of the church, and one of them was to have mentors, and he mentions his mentors were
Rudy?
Rudy's mentors were Max Bells, who's my brother-in-law, and Will Barker, who was very important in the early days of New City, and who was the other? I know the last one, Will Barker. Oh, Bob Rayburn.
So these are Rudy's mentors.
Yeah, Rudy's and then Randy Neighbors. He said Randy kind of rolled everybody together. There's no question that was very. I don't know if we would have had the church without him, but
Yeah,
he's had a lot of faithful helpers too.
And like that one summer, Randy became director of inner city ministries, and then he hired, somehow through the college's work-study program, he hired students to work for the summer, and they had gardens around the city, I think, and there was a newspaper, and they were serving breakfast to the kids in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There's Mike.
Yeah.
I mean, we could talk about all these pastors that came and went, but I don't know that.
Let's see, there was something else that I thought of. Oh, there was a lot of tutoring going on.
Mm-hmm.
This was all in the Mitchell Avenue. Those were very active days, Mitchell Avenue days.
Yeah.
And well, it was a long span of time, too, from 72 to 85. So that was 13 years that we were there.
Really?
Yeah.
When I first got there, I think Barry Henning was the pastor because Randy was
in Saudi Arabia or someplace.
Kuwait.
Yeah, Kuwait.
I don't remember. He was off to war.
Yeah, it was when Saddam Hussein marched into Kuwait.
And that was 91?
I think so.
It was at Westminster. It was after you all...
Yeah.
That's when I first started going.
It was the early 90s, I know that.
Yes.
And through these years, we've had upsets, too. I mean, we had one little group that decided they didn't want to be in the PCA any longer. And they really were rebellious about it. And I will say that my husband had a lot to do with saying, we are PCA church, we're going to stay in the PCA. And Randy, with all his differences, or just wanting to keep nudging the PCA, has always been faithful to that denomination, even though he doesn't agree with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's admirable.
Yeah.
Rudy was strong when there was an issue.
Yeah. That was when the summer when, if we're thinking at the same time, when Rodney Alexander was here, and he really was rock solid about us staying what we were.
Yeah.
He started out as a 3-month pastor, and he stayed for a year. When Randy was gone to seminary, I guess, maybe. And then Neville Jacobs was here for a summer. He was pastor from South Africa who Randy met at seminary. And he energized us a lot that year.
He did. He's kind of a wild man, but we've had a lot of wild people.
He'd been a pastor in South Africa of a church of 4,000, I believe it was. And then he came here to go to Covenant Seminary.
I never knew quite whether all those things were. I think he was a good storyteller, too.
Huh?
He was a good storyteller.
Who, Neville?
Yeah.
Yeah.
About it. He said once he had held a gun to somebody's head until they said they would trust the Lord. It's kind of a Donald Trump of his day.
I guess that's the way to do it. A way.
Has this been helpful to you?
Oh, yes. Yes, it's been great.
I mean, we just have endless. I have a lot of other stuff I could show you.
Well, and like you said, maybe I'll come up sometime. And
yeah, I have one document, and I wonder what I did with it. I found it among my stuff, and it was a long, personal detailed history of the church.
Mhm.
I mean, it's different ones have been written in you know, a lot of our directories.
Yes, and I think in the anniversary, the hardback anniversary picture book that was done, I think there's a history in that as well.
Yeah. So I hope we've been helpful.
Oh,
I mean,
yes.
I'm willing to go on, but
It's up to you.
what else could we talk about? I mean, you don't want too many details.
Get a picture of this.
You can take that if you want to.
No. Do you have one?
Yeah, I think.
I'll take a picture.
Okay, maybe you better. I think it's very good. It could kind of start out the document, I think.
Mhm.
You can see I'm pretty high on my husband, but you're high on yours.
Yeah.
So I'll say, that's not a bad thing.
Not a
We
bad
both had wonderful husbands.
Great
And
men.
they were so loyal to the church.
Yeah.
Rudy, I think his gift was he treated everybody, whether they were 2 years old or 100 years old, he treated everybody just the same.
Mm-hmm.
He really...
And he was persistent. He wouldn't give up.
Mm-mm.
I mean, there were Sundays I thought we were crazy for going down the mountain to church to make sure church happened because of the weather.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember Joel Bells had to come and rescue us one time. He had chains on and came down to get us and take us back up the mountain because we were stuck down there, I think. And it seems like these were always the Christmas programs. We had these sensational Christmas programs.
Oh,
remember?
yeah, that was a big
Big
thing. They
Christmas
were
programs.
well done.
You know, plays,
Mm-hmm.
and we'd rent a school auditorium
Yeah, we did.
on occasion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Christmas programs were big and spent a lot of time on.
And we also, I know you guys did, and I know I did, like Christmas vacation when everybody else went home, we didn't go, well, you were home here, but, you know, still, we didn't leave because we had New City, and we needed to be there, and so...
I do think that was just extremely important, that we just didn't pop kind of in and out. And nobody forced us, and we didn't think we were doing anything big.
It was just,
I mean,
was what
at
we
all.
did.
Mm-hmm.
I think we loved it, and we loved people, and they loved us. And I've always felt too loved more than I deserve.
But at the same time, some of our friends just didn't get it.
I still have friends that don't get it.
They just didn't get it, and they couldn't understand it, and no matter how you explained it to them. And it wasn't that we were enlightened or anything, it was just, they just didn't get it.
Yeah.
And it affected, our church affected Covenant in a positive way.
Yeah.
And
Covenant has been a big help to the church.
right, it has gone both ways. But, you think about it, it's this little bitty church on Lookout Mountain that sent those of us down there. And
we said we would go for 2 years. And every now and then our friends would say, hey, your 2 years are up.
It was an interesting wild ride.
Yeah. I'm trying to think more of who some of the black people were. That Mrs. Jennings, of course, and people like Johnny and Ruby Paris was very important because she started coming right away. She lives right near this church.
Yeah, when we moved to the Westminster
and
building.
she's never quit. She has a lot of dementia now, severe. She comes and she hardly can connect. She's still so pretty and so nice.
Yeah. And her daughter was the head of our women's association, and she was a mover and a shaker.
Oh, yeah.
She rose in the denomination in
she
terms
did.
of stature.
So they were
But
important.
when her husband came back from the military, I guess it was, I think he didn't feel as comfortable with us. And so they went to a different church after that. But until he got back, She was
Her
very
name was
involved.
Rita.
Yeah, I was trying to think of it. Can't remember names anymore. And, and we've had different Sunday school superintendents along the way. Patsy Owens and
Patsy's
Oliver.
been there a long time. But
Yeah. Patsy.
And Pam Williams is one of the
Yeah,
old
Pam
yes.
Williams.
I love it when Pam comes down the aisle with her basket, kind of dancing.
Dancing down the aisle, yeah.
She's cute.
I'm just, other stuff will come to me later. I just, over a couple of days, I was jotting these
Well, I
notes.
appreciate that.
Yeah, that was helpful, Arlene.
But I just,
John,
You
we
know,
should. Well, I will jot other things down if I think of them.
Okay.
Is this
Yeah.
going to be written into or done as a video?
you're just gathering information.
Yes, I'm gathering, and so I don't know if it's going to be a video with pictures over and audio and some of your images. I'm not sure, but
Are you the only one working on it, or is there a committee?
I don't know.
Oh,
Committee of one so far, but they just said you need to do
Yeah.
this. You need, and I was like, okay, I'll just go do it. Go ahead and start,
Yeah.
so that way I can.
True.
You're
bring-
good
Yeah.
to do that.
Yeah,
Well,
because other
that's-
people have talked about it.
You know, I've been reading Bonhoeffer. Have you ever read it?
I've not read it. Read them. Read it. I guess read it. I
Yeah.
have not. Amy has it, but she won't let me see it until she's finished.
Oh, I don't it's quite a book. I really think it's changing my life. I have just about 2 chapters left. But one of his principles was if there's an issue, we should get behind it. We should not just have meetings and talk about it. But
Mhm.
that's what he did. He defended the Jews in Germany,
Yeah.
and that's why he got hanged. But I thought that's what Randy has kind of taught us to do.
Yeah.
And I mean, Randy doesn't get all the credit. I keep telling him we got here before you did. I think. But I do think if there's a major issue, Christians should get behind it. And I think our church, by God's grace and goodness, has done that. I think it's stirred up the whole denomination.
Oh yes, I agree.
And Y says he thinks we're a model church, and Y is pretty smart. I mean, he knows what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I say this not I know that it's all the Lord's doings,
Oh yes.
but it's quite a wonderful thing, because we weren't so intentional. We were intentional about having a testimony downtown. But,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I know one thing I was going to say. One thing that stirred Rudy and me up even before we started was at the foot of the mountain there was a laundromat, and there was a sign for whites only, and we thought white clothes. I'm not sure if we really thought that.
That's what I
And
heard
then-
Rudy say was,
Yeah, and then we went out to Winnepesaukah once, and we have the right to prohibit anyone to come in that we want to, so stuff like that.
and Rock City had separate water fountains. I remember that.
Just sickening. And that's the kind of thing. To ignore that would be awful.
Yeah.
And I don't see how the whole situation of slavery and Jim Crow and all that stuff, how it
How it was
lasted
able
so
to.
long.
Yeah.
So
Well, thank you, ladies, so
Yeah.
much.
we could go.
We've got other stories. It's just we can't think of them right now.
Oh no, take your time. When you think of them, let me know, and we could do this again.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
Yeah.
I'll just tell
Oh.
them I need to do something more important than whatever I do down at that
You
school.
do a lot of your, after all, you're principal of school.
Yeah.
That's a huge responsibility.
Yes, it is, but yes, it is. But
Yeah.
I like this also. I like documenting
Yeah.
this and hearing
Yeah,
from
good.
you all.
I'm glad there are people like you.
Yeah, me too.
I
Because
have.
I don't know what I like to do.
I have.
Ken McElrath made me feel good. I said, I don't really have any talents. I'm not a musician. I'm not an organizer necessarily. Maybe a little bit. he said, "Colin, you're a connector," and that made me feel so good. I thought I could just.
Well, there you go.
So I thought, well, I'll clean that.
Oh, can
And
I?
Arlene's a doer.
Can I tell you guys one funny story? It's not really a church story, but it's church members. David and I were engaged, and Randy was out of town, and Joan was going to spend the night up with me. I was living with Margaret Stewart and Rebecca Steigers. So Joan was going to spend the night with me, and she called me up and she said, plans are changing. IK just dropped this little baby off at our house.
Oh, yeah.
And so anyway, she said, so I guess I can't come out. I said, well, yeah, you can still come up, because the weather was iffy. We were having to decide what we were going to do. But anyway, to make a longer story shorter, she did come, but on the way we went to pick her up. Daryl and Margaret were engaged. David and I were engaged, and there was Joan with this baby that she hadn't planned on, that she was supposed to keep for the weekend. Oh yeah, and she was real pregnant. This was in January, and Garrett was born in May. May? Yeah. Or end of April. Anyway, so she was very obviously pregnant. Well, we went out to eat, and we went to a steak place, the 5 of us plus the baby. And
it was beautiful.
None of us knew what to do with a baby. And Randy and Joan didn't have any children, and the rest of us were just engaged. And so I guess we had grape juice in this bottle, and Michael was drinking the grape juice, and I don't know what else we were feeding him. And we were sitting there at this table, and Michael throws up purple all over, everywhere. And so Daryl and Margaret and David and I jump up, and we're running around trying to get this baby cleaned up and so forth. And Joan said, you guys know what this looks like. It looks like I'm this single mother that can't stop having babies because I'm pregnant, and here's my baby that I'm not even doing a good job of taking care of, and you guys are all my social workers. We were in this crowded restaurant. Oh my.
I can just see that.
I mean, we didn't want Joan to be involved because this wasn't her baby.
Yeah.
And we wanted to take care of it. There was no reason for her to be jumping
I can
off.
remember when they were debating.
Who was going to have this baby?
Yeah, I said, Joan, you're going to go right from no babies to 2 babies.
Wow.
But they took
Yeah.
the baby.
Before that,
He was such a pretty boy.
Oh yeah. Oh, he was such a
He's
doll.
doing pretty well, I think.
First, this couple, I can't remember their name either. They were considering taking him.
Yeah.
I can't remember their name. And then I was trying to talk David into taking him. We weren't even married yet. And David just wasn't ready. David wasn't ready for a lot of things.
And when they first got married, they took in
Vincent.
Vincent.
Yeah, we had a 16-year-old foster son 6 months after we were married.
Oh, wow.
And another thing we did a lot of, and for years I went down to visit a lady in the College Hill. What do you call those? West Side.
Yeah, West Side.
Or different people would go with me, like Bonnie loved to go there with me. So I think it's just been an amazing kind of tapestry that the Lord has put together.
Yeah, and it was you guys were the oldest. The rest of us were a lot younger. Well, 20 years younger.
That's quite a lot.
No, I'm only 17 years younger than you are.
Yeah.
So we kind of looked to them for all the leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was all these children that we always had around us, and we had them up at the college, and
Oh yeah.
would do things like one time I took the girls, we'd do things after church.
Mm-hmm.
I took the girls, the space house on the mountain
Mhm.
signal. Well, it was being constructed, and we stopped there on we just drive around town and find stuff to do. And I asked the guy if I could bring the girls in, if we could look at it. He let us come up in it.
Oh, wow.
And we got up. I don't know if I told you this
Yeah,
story
you
or not. And then he pulled the stairs up after us, and he said, "You want to go for a ride?" And he had this vibrator on the thing. He turned it on, and the thing started. And the girls started screaming, and I had to tell myself, "This thing cannot take off. This is not reality." But I had a hard time convincing myself, even though I knew it couldn't take off. But anyway, they didn't mind that this all happened. They just it was
Another thing
exciting.
that Arlene did when the Christian school was on the mountain, she went downtown every day and picked up a bunch.
Well, I didn't do it every day. I was responsible for making it happen.
Well, you
And on the
made
days
it- you
when
made it
I
happen,
couldn't get
too.
volunteers to do it, I would do it.
Which was often.
Yeah, David said I had to quit that position. I guess I was on the board then. He said I had to quit that position before we could get married.
She was active, and she's the one, when Randy talks about somebody that has gone in to trim toenails, she's the one that's done that.
Mm.
So
Yeah, I think he even mentioned me by name in the book
I hope
for
so.
that.
I don't remember. I'll have to go through the book again.
I know he's got my name in there
I love his
one
book.
place. Yeah.
It's packed.
Yeah, especially the early part is so interesting because it's a lot of the history of Miss City.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Whether he
There's a lot of
intended that
stuff
way.
in there that he said.
Yeah, yeah,
There's so much.
he recounts. So,
Thank you both. And if you all get a hankering to write something down or an urge,
Yeah.
I'd love to just capture as much as possible.
Well, you're
Not that I'm planning to do something
admired,
different,
Greg.
just so that other folks could have access to this, because it's great.
I know Travis has talked about doing, so you might be able to get some help from him.
Travis
Jones.
Okay. Yeah, it's right next
He
to
was
him
an
all
early
day
one,
Sunday.
too.
Well,
Yeah,
not Sunday.
he came in about mid-60s.
Okay.
I know he was here in 78. I'm sorry. He came mid-70s.
Okay.
I get my decades mixed up.
Oh,
I had a girl here last night who came to see me, whose parents graduated in '84, and she's the cutest girl. She's a horsewoman. She
Oh.
trained horses.
Wow.
And she was all set to go to equestrian school, and then she came here for
Conference
for
or something?
homecoming, actually,
Oh.
with her parents, and changed her mind. I'm so glad. Kinsey Hummel.